Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgive. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On. It's January the 19th, 2016. You're listening live on UCY.tv or one of the other apps that are available to listen from. If you are listening from one of the other apps, I really encourage you to jump on into the chat here. It's about the best chat I've ever found on the internet for an online network radio show, and meet some people. And I notice that I get people following me now from TuneIn, which is nice. Yeah, if you haven't been in the chat, just go to ucy.tv, hit the chat, jump in, hook up, and meet some good people. Anyways, tonight, we're going to spend the next hour talking about the absolute need to get rid of most of us. And the earth is ill, it's hurting, it's sick, it's in danger of ceasing to exist. And it's all the fault of humans. They're a plague upon the earth. They're like a bad virus. They're like maggots. They're eating up the world. Their population is out of control, and we have to get rid of them. And I'm sure there's lots of you that consider yourselves to be nice, environmentally friendly humans out there, but that doesn't cut it. Because of course you exhale CO2, so what are we going to do with you, right? I mean, what's killing the planet? CO2, and that's coming out of you. So, the scientists have done a lot of study. They've got their computer models all worked out, and they pretty much understand now the total carrying capacity of planet Earth. And I thank the scientists, because you can always trust the scientist, right? That's why so many people quit eating eggs, and that's why so many people started eating margarine. And that's why people line up and have needles jammed into their arms, because, well, you can always trust the scientist. We all know that global warming, climate change is absolutely true, and if we hit the 2 number, well, then the entire world will implode upon itself and cease to exist. So with all of these problems, and they're all created by humans, all problems on the planet are created by humans, and if you consider yourself a human, then obviously you've lined up and accepted the fact that you're a problem. And you should be prepared to do what is necessary in order to save the planet. And that is go off yourself. And if you won't off yourself, well, then we will poison you with the air, the water, the food, the injections, until we fill you full of cancer or whatever. And then we'll bleed your insurance policies and get you to sell your house and everything else and bankrupt your ass before you die. But don't look at that negatively, because when we finally kill your ass by whatever means necessary, at least you did your part to save the planet. So thank you very much for dying. We appreciate that very much. We just have to accelerate the death rate because, well, you know, the computer model said so, and you need to get your shit together and die. Now, we have a real problem that I didn't even know about. And again, it's caused by humans. And I'm not a human, you see, so I'm a man. And I know that I did not evolve from an ape. I am not an naked ape. I am a man. And therefore, I think I'm outside of this human problem. So, you know, I'm going to be here as I eradicate the rest of you because, well, I'm a man. And so, yeah, tough luck to the humans. Now, we have an interesting story here, I do declare. And I'm still wet from blowing snow, you know. Just before I get into these stories here, you know, people are bitching and complaining up here in Canada because that's what we do so well. Canadians bitch and complain. We're probably the best on the planet at it. We bitch and complain about everything. We never do anything about anything. We just bitch and complain about things. That's what makes us Canadians. That's what makes us so easily deceived. Because, well, we just like to complain. We don't want to know anything. We don't want to take any action against any problems. We just want to bitch and complain. So, you know, people were bitching and complaining that, where's winter? Where's winter? Winter hasn't come yet. Where's winter? Well, it's here now, folks. We're buried. And lots of snow. A little town about 40 minutes from here, just east of me. They got 2 feet of snow yesterday. So you happy, everybody? Well, now today people are bitching and complaining. I was out at the grocery store. People were bitching and complaining they don't like winter anymore. Well, as I explained to them, it's only been here a week. Well, yeah, but we've had enough of it. So now we're going to bitch and complain about too much snow. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Now, welcome to Canada. The land of the bitching and the complaining. You know, more resources per capita than anywhere else in the world, which makes us the richest per capita in the world. And here we have all kinds of people can't afford a roof over their head, can't afford to keep hydro in their homes, can't afford their water bills. They got to go and get donated food and so on. So we should be just so freaking proud. I guess if you have pride in stupidity and ignorance, I guess that's something to be proud of. Me, I'm not proud of any of it. I'm quite ticked off about it. But so be it. Those are humans. I am a man. So they have to deal with their problems, not me. Anyways, this is really interesting. I've heard of this before. Plastic problem. We have a plastic problem. And, of course, who generated the plastic problem? Well, the humans did. You see, and it's imperative that we get rid of a lot of humans in order to cut down on the plastic. The more humans we got, the more plastic we're going to use, the more plastic we're going to discard, and the more plastic is going to destroy the earth. You know, if you were hooked on climate change, oh my God, we got to do something about climate change. Well, we have a much more serious problem. That's plastic. You see, the computer models say, if we don't take drastic action on the climate, then by the year 2100, we could go over the 2 degrees Celsius mark, which of course will be the end of the planet. But we have a much more imperative problem that has to be dealt with, and that is plastic. So here's a story by a foundation. I love foundations. They seem to have lots of money to spread around and write their stories. And of course, the media picks up their stories and yada, yada, yada. People read it and go, oh my God, we got a problem. Well, you humans got a problem. I don't have a problem. I'm a man. Anyways, a new report by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is most interesting. And this is Tuesday, January the 19th, 2016. It was posted here at 4:45 p.m. A new report by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation paints a dismal, yes, folks, a dismal future for the world's oceans if no preventative action is taken. While plastic is an integral part of modern society, this miracle material has a downside. It is estimated that 1 billion tons of plastic have been discarded since the 1950s, and research suggests it will take up to 500 years for some forms to biodegrade. Well, that's half as bad as nuclear, isn't it? I think nuclear is 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years, or whatever, but plastic's right up there with nuclear waste. And unlike a nuclear plant that produces nuclear waste, each and every one of you humans produce plastic waste. So, you know what? We got a problem with you people. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and you can trust them because listen to the name, it's the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So obviously you best pay attention to what they got to say. Only 8% of the total plastic waste generated in 2010 in the U.S. actually made it to recycling plants. Now, I know this can be believed because I know the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has the capacity to figure out exactly how much plastic was generated, and they know exactly what percentage of it made it to recycling plants. Of course, there's no data on the number of police who have killed people in the United States, but we do have it down to 8% of plastic generated was recycled. I'm sure they have it all on their computer models. The other 92% apparently was shuffled off to landfills or found its way into the water. Now, I know anytime I have a piece of plastic, I live right here beside Lake Huron, and I find that instead of sending it to recycle, which I find a pain to recycle stuff, or send it off to the landfill, which costs us a fortune now to send something to landfill, and the landfill prices are directly connected to the United Nations. I've been through those documents on how to use the landfills as a currency generator for the municipalities. But me, no, I just get a piece of plastic and I make a trip. I'm only 2 blocks away from Lake Huron. I just walk down the 2 blocks and just chuck it in the water. It saves me a lot of trouble. And I see a lot of my friends and relatives and neighbors do the same thing. I mean, there's so much plastic on Lake Huron now, you can almost walk across the entire lake. But we find it, well, it's something we like to do, Anyways, the paper by the MacArthur Foundation analyzes the current rate of plastic making its way into the world's oceans and offers a projection for the future, computer model projections. The new report, now computer models, I know they're accurate. I don't have a problem with computer models because the IPCC showed us how accurate computer models are, where they can look out 100 years and ding it within a decimal point of a degree Celsius. So I don't have a problem with computer models. I know these scientists are truthful. I know they're honest. And I know they care about each and every one of us. So if these models are being done on oceans and plastic, then obviously they must be true. Anyways, let's see. The new report acknowledges that while plastics and plastic packaging are an integral part of the global economy, and they deliver many benefits, most plastic packaging is used only once. Reads a statement on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's website. Given projected growth in consumption, again, computer modeled, in a business as usual scenario, it kind of sounds like the water scare and the energy scare and the global warming scare, doesn't it? In a business as usual scenario. In other words, if we continue to operate the way we've been operating, well, plastic is going to play a major, major part in this problem. It says here by 2050, which is 50 years, and 2050 is not that far away. It's 2016 now, so it's not like the IPC projecting at 100 years. These people are projecting that 2050, the oceans are expected to contain more plastics than fish by weight. So the amount of plastic, according to the MacArthur Foundation, in the ocean will outweigh the total weight of all fish and sea creatures in the ocean. Now, this is very dangerous, folks. Oh, Jesus. I have a hard time saying this. This is, okay, carry on. According to the report, at least 8 million tons of plastic leak. Now, I've never seen leaky plastic, but apparently they leak into the ocean. How long does it take for, according to the MacArthur Foundation, how long, this is a question for you in the chat, take a guess at it, just how long do you think it takes for 8 million tons of plastics to leak into the ocean? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 seconds. How long do you think it takes for 8 million tons, according to the MacArthur Foundation, 8 million tons of plastics to leak into the ocean every minute? Now, I don't really hear a whole lot of banging around over here at the chat. I'm going to go back to the chat and see if anybody has bothered to put in a number. Apparently not. Well, anyways, the amount of time it takes for the ocean, or for to leak into the ocean, according to the MacArthur Foundation, every single minute of every day, 8 million tons of plastic in the ocean. A number that's expected to double by 2050. That will be 16 tons of plastic will leak into the oceans every single minute. The paper acknowledges that reducing the amount of plastic in the ocean will require major global collaboration, like water, like climate change, like energy. It's just another thing, the war on, so this is the war on plastic, will require major global collaboration, but the authors believe change is possible. You see, this is about societal change, just like global warming, CO2, water shortages, which there isn't any, and energy from fossil fuels, it's just another one of their problems. The foundation is calling on governments to impose stricter policies around plastic packaging while calling for improvements in packaging technologies. Now, this is a lot of effort. I'll explain that later when I get done this silly story. Did I say silly? I mean accurate, absolutely verifiable, scientific story. Plastic in the ocean, it goes on. A study published in December 2014 by U.S. and U.K. researchers suggests that there are more than 5 trillion pieces of plastic weighing nearly 269,000 tons currently swirling in the oceans. The largest source of plastic was from discarded fishing nets, but a heavy presence of plastic bags, toys, and bottles was discovered as well. Smaller pieces appear to be getting eaten by fish and traveling up the food chain. The study only measured plastic found floating at the top of the ocean and not the trash littering the seabed. Plastic in the ice. Plastic isn't just swirling in the water. A study published in May 2014, a team of researchers again discovered there could be, not is, not are, or anything else, it could be, I love this, discovered there could be trillions of pieces of microplastics lurking in the Arctic ice. And it could be that these researchers have a pea-sized brain as well. That's probably more likely than trillions of pieces of plastic lurking in the Arctic ice. And how does plastic lurk? I don't know how plastic leaks, and I don't know how it lurks. But apparently it's lurking in the Arctic ice. As the ice melts due to rising global temperatures, it could flood the ecosystem with an unprecedented amount of debris. Okay, so now we had the permafrost melting, and we had the methane gas. Oh my God, the methane gas bubbles is going to destroy the Earth. But now, as the ice melts due to rising global temperatures, which are again caused by who? Humans. That's why I'm not a human. That's why I'm a man. It could flood the ecosystem with an unprecedented amount of debris. So you will have a tsunami of trillions of pieces of microplastics that are lurking in the Arctic ice now. They will be freed, and it will be a tsunami of plastic coming across the Earth, destroying everything in its way. And again, who's at fault? Well, them damn humans are. Arctic ice from remote locations contains concentrations of microplastics at least 2 orders of magnitude greater than those that have been previously reported in highly contaminated surface waters, the study's authors write. Now, I don't know what kind of drugs these guys do, because they can't be just smoking a joint. Because you wouldn't come up with this crap. I mean, they got to be, I don't know, they're doing acid or some other, maybe peyote or something, because these guys are really getting high on something. Maybe they're smoking plastic. Maybe that's what they're doing, Maybe they're way up north and they got nothing else to do, so they found some plastic, so they smoked it. And then they come up with these numbers. Our findings indicate that microplastics have accumulated far from population centers, and that polar sea ice represents a major historic global sink of man-made particulates. So the Arctic is really a bad place. If it ever melts, folks, we've got the methane gas. We've got the plastic problem. We've got the rising oceans problems. And, we are in some serious trouble. We aren't. You humans are. I'm a man, and the other men, we don't have a problem because, we're not the problem. It's you humans that are the problem. And for those who don't understand this, there's a huge difference between a man and a human. Huge difference. Actually, in the video by George Hunt that he did on this when he went to the Wilderness Congress meeting in Denver, Colorado, or outside of Denver, Colorado, where he ran into head of the EPA and Morris Strong, David Rockefeller, and Evelyn de Rothschild. In that video, or during that conference, Evelyn de Rothschild said that what they would think they would do is use CO2 to create dry ice and then haul the dry ice up to the Arctic to keep it cold so that it wouldn't melt. I mean, that's how stunned these people think you are. But then humans aren't really that bright because, of course, they're nothing more than an offshoot of an ape. So I guess you can tell a human just about anything, obviously anything, and they'll believe it as long as it comes through that tube or off the papers or off the radio stations, and as long as some authority or some expert or some researcher or some scientist or politician or preacher or teacher tells you that. Because you see, animals are much easier to train than, well, a human is an animal. And so they just train the animals, and they have a hard time training men. But for all those humans out there, again, you're the problem. Let's see. The research team believes that Arctic ice is trapping floating microplastic as it freezes. It says the research team believes this. No factor evidence, just these guys that are likely smoking plastic. They got to be smoking something, so I'll just go with plastic. That seems to be what they're all involved in. And there's not much else up in the Arctic, so, you're sniffing methane gas or I'm just going to stick with, I believe, that they're smoking plastic. But anyways, the research team believes that the Arctic ice is trapping floating microplastics as it freezes. By citing current melting trends, the team estimates that 1 trillion pieces of plastic could be released in the next 10 years. And that source is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So look out, in the next 10 years, with the super melting of the Arctic, because it's only minus 60 or 100 or whatever, and obviously ice melts at those temperatures. Please expect to see a trillion piece of plastic could be released in the next 10 years. Now, let me see here. These are all things you can believe, right? These are all things you can believe because they suggest, they believe, they say that they're researchers. Now I have... Okay, I got something playing in the background here. Let's see if we can get away from it. While we're on this, we'll just stay with plastic. It'll be Plastic Day. I see a graph here. Look at all the plastic. Holy shit. Look at all that plastic. There's a map here. I'm on, if anybody wonders where I'm getting this from, I'm actually on the Weather Network. And they have it looks like, I don't even know what the hell this is supposed to be a map of. The world? I don't know. Doesn't look like the world. But anyways, this is 99% of birds to contain plastic by 2050, study says. Yeah, this is from September the 5th. If waste production continues at the same rate, it will be a grim future ahead for marine wildlife and birds. New research conducted by Australian scientists shows that 9 out of 10 of the world's seabirds have likely consumed plastic. New research, Jesus, people read this stuff and they actually believe this bunk, I guess because as animals, as humans, they don't know how to read anything. That's the only conclusion I can come to. New research conducted by Australian scientists shows that 9 out of 10 of the world's seabirds have likely consume plastic. Not they have consumed plastic, not they're going to consume plastic, but have likely consumed plastic. Again, no basis in reality whatsoever. In the past, it remains in their digestive organs. The findings were published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. The study showed that far more seabirds are impacted by marine debris than the former estimated figure of 29%. Okay? Because we got to ramp it up, because we got to get rid of humans, and we have to make the case to get rid of the humans. Now, we have to move the numbers up, okay? Just like CO2, it was, reduce CO2 by 20%, we'll be okay. Then it was 40, then 60, then 80. Now, you got guys like Gates saying the only way we can save this place is reduce CO2 by 100%. Well, 100% no CO2, that means there is no life on this planet whatsoever. None, squat. These people are nuts. Well, they're not nuts. I mean, yeah, there's psychopaths and there's sociopaths, but these humans are just about as dumb as a box of rocks because they believe this crap. So the old study said estimated figure, again, based on no reality, no usable data, but an estimated figure of 29% obviously can't be right, because if it's 29%, well, then we can't make a big deal out of it. So we've ramped it up to 99% by 2050. In the next 11 years, we will make as much plastic has been made since the industrial plastic production began in the 1950s, says the study co-author Dennis Hardsey. In an interview with The Guardian, which of course you can trust. You can trust any newspaper because, well, it's a newspaper. Now here's the one that I don't have time to do this, but there's a headline here where I'm going down this story that's that says, scientists say these 400-million-year-old sea creatures are so smart, they must be aliens. Anyways, this science guy, Hardsey, added that birds often mistake plastic particles for fish eggs. They think they're getting a proper meal, but they're really getting a plastic meal. Well, I mean, you have seagulls now hang out at places like McDonald's and that. And are they not getting a plastic meal? Aren't the people who go to McDonald's getting a plastic meal? Come on down to McDonald's and have some plastic. We call it food, but hey, trust us. The largest problem area is where the greatest number of species coexist, The Guardian reports. This is particularly the case in New Zealand and Australia near the southern hemisphere. Through her research, Hardesty told The Guardian she saw both a glow stick and 3 balloons in one short-tailed shearwater bird. In another, she found a cigarette lighter. She even reports finding toys inside of birds. She says her computer model, she has a computer model. Okay, so we know this information is correct and it can't be denied and it can't be discussed because it came from a computer model. And if you say anything about her computer model or anything that she has come up with data, well, then obviously you're a conspiracy theorist and should not be taken seriously. Though says her computer model forecast that by 2050, 99% of all seabirds will have plastic in them. Now that's weird because this is all about control of the oceans, right? This computer model of hers doesn't seem to have any data on land birds, I guess you'd call them, birds that don't usually hang out at sea. your robins and your chickadees and your ravens and your meadowlarks and blue jays and all this kind of stuff. There's no data on them. So it seems to be that the only plastic that's a real problem is sea plastic, not land plastic. A land plastic seems to have no effect whatsoever on birds, according to this story anyways. And people wouldn't have picked that up in the story from me. They go, oh my God, the oceans are dying. Do you read it? Ethel, come here. Did you read this? We throw in 8 million tons of plastic leak into the ocean. Did you know this, Ethel? Every freaking minute of every day. My God, what are we going to do? And this is Walter Cronkite. And after Walter Cronkite left the news, the man you can trust in news, the voice of the news, Walter Cronkite, went straight from there to collect his Norman Cousins World Federalist Award, where he said that he is glad or happy, one of the two, happy I think it was, the man you can trust in news, Walter Cronkite, getting the Norman Cousins World Federalist Award, spews off that he is happy to be sitting at the side of Satan. Yes, indeedy, folks. You can trust the news. You can trust science. You can trust your politicians. You can trust your teachers. You can trust your preachers, and so on and so forth. If you're a human. Because humans ain't got the smarts to see through any of this crap. Man can see through it because, see, man's not supposed to get deceived. Humans, on the other hand, they're just freaking animals. They're they started out as some kind of an amoeba somewhere after this big bang, and over a gazillion years, they evolved up through the food chain or whatever to the point where they became humans. Well, I ain't going there because there was no such thing as a human, really, until they got into this nonsense in the mid-19th century through Darwinism. And why did we come up with Darwinism? In order to deceive, in order to control man, and so on and so forth. So if you want to be a human, then go right the frig ahead. But I can't go there. Sorry about that. So that was an interesting story about let's see. I haven't. This is amazing. This is the most amazing. I thought I went here to look at the weather. I may be stuck here for a while. Here's a comment. Here's a comment. Kate West leaves a comment. The contamination of our world with plastics is more worrisome than climate change, in my opinion. We'll adapt or not to climate change, but plastic apparently persists in some form nearly forever. And there's no getting away from it, says Kat, I guess it is, with a K. It's seductively useful stuff, cheap and disposable. Well, apparently it isn't disposable if it lasts for almost ever, Kat. But then you agreed with the story, so I can see where you're having a problem wrapping your brain around it. Let's see. Let's see. Now, this is another story. This is a new study. Now, I read the study about 8 million tons. Oh, this is 8 million metric tons. So we went from 8 million tons of plastic going on. I can't do this math right here, right this quick. Maybe somebody in the chat can. But the first story I read you was that 8 million tons of plastic leak into the ocean every single minute. But this new study suggest 8 million metric tons of plastic are entering the ocean each year. Now, I don't know if 8 million tons leaking into the ocean every minute equates to 8 million metric tons of plastic per year. Now, maybe somebody can do the math on this quick and either verify this or not. But the numbers are, for you mathematicians out there, does 8 million tons of plastic leaking into the ocean every minute, when you do the numbers, do you come up with 8 million metric tons of plastic entering the ocean each year? So I guess it would be 8 million. How would you work that out? How many minutes in a year, I guess? Or you could figure out how many, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So that's 8 million tons times 60 gives you by the hour, times 24, which gives you the day, times 365 will get you a year. And that'll tell you how many tons of plastic you got a year. And if you divide that by whatever it is, 9 or whatever, to get a metric ton, I can't remember what that is exactly, will you end up with 8 million metric tons in the ocean each year? I highly doubt these numbers are going to work out. But hey, the scientists came up with it from one study to the next study. So the story I read you, the first story about the 8 million tons a minute was published yesterday or today. And this story here is from February the 13th, 2015. So I'm going to go through this and we'll see what kind of information we got there. Plastic, again, is an integral part of modern society. That's what it said in the newer one. But this miracle material has a downside. That's what they said in the new one. A new study, it's always a new study, they're always doing new studies, has calculated that an average of 8 million metric tons of plastic are entering the world's waterways each year, and that can have a devastating impact on local ecosystems. So the other one was 8 million tons a minute going into the oceans, and this is 8 million metric tons of plastic entering the world waterways. That would be the rivers and the creeks and all that kind of stuff, which eventually at some point end up in the oceans. The study, which was published on February the 13th edition of the Journal of Science, found that between 4.8 and 12.7 million tons of plastic waste entered the ocean in 2010 from people living in 192 coastal countries. So let's see. It doesn't say metric tons. It says 4.8 to 12.7 million tons of plastic entered the ocean in 2010. So the first story I read says 8 million tons a minute. And here we have 4.8, between 4.8 and 12.7 million tons of plastic entered the ocean in 2010. Now, these numbers don't exactly work out, do they? But then you're not supposed to read that carefully. You're supposed to go, oh, my God, what are we going to do? Somebody help us, help us, help us. Same crap all the time, isn't it, folks? Those countries alone generated 270 million metric tons of plastic waste that year. University of Georgia's Jenna Jambek says she and her associates at the National Center for Ecological Analysis and Synthesis used 8 million metric tons as their midpoint. 8 million metric tons is the equivalent to finding 5 grocery bags full of plastic on every foot of the coastline in 192 countries we examined it, she said in a statement. Well, wait a minute. That's the equivalent of 8 million metric tons, or 8 million metric tons is the equivalent of finding 5 grocery bags full of plastic on every foot of the coastline in the 192 countries we examined. Well, my question would be, how many bags are you finding on the beach? Because if that many bags ended up in the ocean, it must be awfully crowded on the beach, but of course not. It all seems to end up in the ocean. The team examined all debris entering the ocean and then created a formula that focused on the plastic. Now, have you heard a more retarded or more ridiculous statement than that? The team, 192 countries, coastal countries. That's 192 coastal countries. The team examined all debris entering the ocean. The team examined all debris entering the ocean. That must be one hell of a size of a team. And then created a formula that focused on the plastic. But there's more to the equation. Well, of course. The first part of your equation is completely unbelievable. It has nothing to back it up with, so surely you have something more to the equation. Despite the 4.8 and 12.7 million metric tons going into the ocean, researchers are only finding 6,350 and 245,000 metric tons floating on the surface. Where the hell did it all go? The paper gives us a sense of just how much we're missing. Co-author Kara Lavender Law, research professor at the Massachusetts-based Sea Education Association, said in a statement, "Right now we're mainly collecting numbers on plastic that floats. There's a lot of plastic sitting on the bottom of the ocean and the beaches worldwide. The study suggests the amount of plastic entering the ocean could increase each year." Well, yeah, I guess so. The study again suggests the amount of plastic entering the ocean could increase each year. No valid thing to back it up with, just suggests that it could increase. It is estimated that 1 billion tons of plastic have been discarded since the 1950s. I don't recall what the number was on the first story, but I know it wasn't 1 billion tons. And research suggests it will take up to 500 years for some forms to biodegrade. Same as the other story. According to the U.S., and again, it suggests, right? It suggests it will take up to 500 years for some forms to biodegrade. Which form and how much of it is there, and where are you coming up with your numbers? Of course, you don't have any. At best, you have some stupid computer model. According to U.S. Environmental Protection Agencies, only 8% of the total plastic waste generated in 2010 in the U.S. actually made it to recycling plants. That's a repeat of a line from the first story. The other 92% was shuffled off to landfills or found its way into the water. That's the same statement as the newer statement. We're being overwhelmed by our waste, she said, by our framework. But our framework allows us to also examine mitigation strategies like improving global solid waste management and reducing plastic in the waste stream. Potential solutions will need to coordinate local and global efforts. Again, local and global efforts. The suggestions will come from the global group, which is the United Nations, and all of the foundations, and all the NGOs, and all the multinational corporations, and the IMF, and the World Bank, and the rest of these clowns. And they will come up with the statements, and then it will be shuffled down in a template style to the local government level, who will implement the plan of the United Nations, because all nations, except for maybe one or two, are member states of the United Nations and are bound by the treaties that they sign. And therefore, if your politician says, this is what we need to do, he's full of, or she is full of absolute crap. Okay, this is the way this garbage operates. And it has to stop. It really does have to stop. Oh man, this is amazing stuff. Plastic trash is developed into plastic glomerate, a new kind of rock. So now we have all this waste is turning into rocks. It's a new rock. That's amazing. And don't get me wrong, folks. When I'm yammering on about this stuff, do I care about the oceans? Yes. And all of these things that they're complaining about are actually quite fixable, and it's quite simple to deal with it. But like cancer, they poison you to create cancer. Why? Because there's too many of you on the planet. And do they heal you? No. There's no cash flow in healing anybody. You got to keep them sick. And if we cleaned up the plastic, then we don't have a problem. And then we don't have a human problem, and then we don't need to cull the human population. And so we must ramp these problems up into such a crazy level that people go, oh my God, what are we going to do? You're not going to have any more children. And if you do have children, your children will be, the breeding pairs will be picked by the government, and so on and so forth. This kind of stuff that people allow themselves to get sucked into, and they got the humans really freaked out. Is what they got. Here's a good story. The Chinese power plant is burning banknotes instead of coal to make electricity. Climate change could have a negative impact on male fetuses. They'll all become Bruce Jenners, I suppose. The record-breaking California drought is enhanced but not caused by climate change. This is just over the top. Let's see, what's this story here? This is nuts. These stories, and they I mean, while I'm on the Weather Channel, these stories are coming out of foundations and out of places like the Guardian and so on and so forth. With statements like, there could be more plastic than fish in the sea by 2050. And this is the garbage they teach the children in the schools. And this is what really irritates the hell out of me, okay, is that the teachers who you entrust your children to are filling the kids' heads with this absolute nonsense. And because they're children, they're easy prey for these people, because the children have nothing to balance what they're being told against. Okay, and I don't think parents are paying enough attention, but then the parents came through the same school system, and they believe they're humans, and they when I was in school, I don't know what they teach in school now, but when I was taught in school, fossil fuels. Well, when I was a kid in school, oil came from dinosaurs. This is what they taught us. And I thought to myself at the time, damn, there must have been a hell of a pile of dinosaurs, because this is our fossil fuel. All a load of bunk, complete and total load of bunk. And we got to get over this, and we got to push back hard. We cannot continue. This is why I keep saying, we need to, and I'm going to get it done here, come up with a newspaper. We have to have something in print that can counteract this stuff. Okay, you take any one of these stories and teach people how to read. You take one of these stories, you put it in your paper, and you go through it, and you explain to it, right? When you're reading this, ask yourself, who are these researchers? Who is the MacArthur Foundation attached to? Okay? How come they say possible, likely, plausible, yada, yada, yada? Why don't they say they know, right? Like, how are we supposed to take these stories seriously? But most people don't seem to be able to pick those words up. They just say, "Oh, well, a researcher said," or a scientist said. Don't tell you who the scientist is or who's paying his paycheck or anything else, and so on and so forth. So we got to shine the light on this nonsense. Anyways, I heard somewhere that there's a real what do you call it? Cauliflower. Is it cauliflower? Problem, and I guess the price of cauliflower has gone right through the ceiling, and so on and so forth. So I got like 2 minutes or something left. I'm just going to look at this really quickly, and this is the high price of food, and the story is Canadian grocers battle worst produce shortage in 30 years. So that's the problem we got. Why do we have a produce shortage? I don't know. High prices for produce will continue into February at least due to the weak loonie and extreme weather events that have cut yields, grocery retailer Sobeys announced Monday. According to Canadian Free Press, El Nino-fueled floods have created supply shortages and contributed to price increases on produce from California and Mexico. From what we hear, the situation is going to be for the next 3 weeks, and then we'll see how things evolve along the West Coast. Claude Teaser, president of Sobeys Quebec, told reporters on Monday. Analysts say the shortage is the worst they've seen in 30 years. Sobeys, which also runs IGA, Safeway, and Freshco, is trying to mitigate the damage by importing more food from Florida, Morocco, and Spain, as well from local growers. Cauliflower and grapes have been the hardest items to come by, with yields down by as much as 80%. The University of Guelph Food Institute says the cost of some fruit and vegetables could rise as much by 4.5% this year, following a rise of up to 10% in 2015. Oh, when's this story? This is from, what the hell? Oh, then we got their dates right. The Institute estimates the average Canadian household spent $325 more on food in 2015, and that could rise by an additional $345 in 2016. And all this is really is a tax upon your earnings. Okay, here's a comment. The Weather Networks thinks that fear sells instead of trying to educate. It's pathetic. Well, it's on this site, okay? But the story comes from Canadian Press, comes from the MacArthur Foundation, comes from the Rockefeller Foundation, comes from the UN, okay? So they just post this garbage up here. And then Stewart says, from the first sentence, extreme weather events, in quotes, the Weather Network can't ever talk about the weather without a nitwit extreme or unprecedented thrown in the verbiage to keep the chicken littles wound up. And that's absolutely true. So anyways, we're getting near the end of the show. This really wasn't what I was going to talk about, but I've been out blowing snow all day, and we've been having storms here like a bugger, so we were trying to get around, so I had the radar up, and I saw these stories. I don't hang out on the Weather Channel. I won't be here again for a long time likely. But I'll leave you with this last, where is that? Let me just see here. If I can get this before we hit the music. Shoot. Okay, let's just see. Okay, let's see if we get this. Nope, we're not getting it. I was looking for here. I just want, if I hit this, just get up. Find it. Okay, why global warming is phony? Record temperature on the where I live, record low record high plus 12.9. Okay, global warming, climate change, environmental conditions, God, the fact.
Trees lie to your face, fight and die. This God will give.
Okay, take care.